I've got a Homelite 360 chainsaw that needs repair. The symptoms are that it starts up. Well, it's hard to start, and then when it does start, it doesn't stay running. And I think it's a fuel delivery problem, something in the carburetor. So I was troubleshooting it earlier today, and I noticed that this line is broken. I think it's a vacuum line, but obviously that might be one reason that I'm having difficulty. It's a rubber line that goes down to the engine. As you can see, I have two chainsaws here, the identical. This one I just bought for parts recently on eBay, and because I needed a starter pulley. But I think it's going to help me in other ways too, because I may end up needing parts as time goes on. And once this chainsaw is running, it's a really good chainsaw. Again, it's a Homelite 360, bought back in the 70s, but it's just really powerful. What I'm going to show you is how the chainsaw disassembles. So what I did after doing all the disassembly is I just kind of put it back together loosely without tightening any, without putting back the nuts and bolts, and I'll show you how to get underneath the carburetor, because there's at the same time that I'm going to be replacing this hose, I'm probably also going to replace there's a boot, a rubber boot between the carburetor and the intake of the engine, which it's very, from what I've read, it's very typical for that boot to need replacement, because it deteriorates, and you need a good seal, but obviously between the carburetor and the engine. Okay, so in order to disassemble this, the first thing I'm going to do is take the carburetor off. I'm going to take these screws out. Like I said, this has already been done, so I've just got everything loosely together. Take these screws out that bolt the carburetor to the engine. Okay, and then take the carburetor off. Disconnect the hoses. This is the hose that's broken on the other one that I showed you. Okay, so taking the carburetor off with the long three stems for the high, low, and idle adjustment. Okay, now what you've got, and that's after taking the linkages off, obviously. But okay, now what you've got is this piece is bolted in place with two bolts there. 1, 2. Okay, so I took those bolts out. Now this is the rubber boot that I was talking about, and we'll expose that a little further later. Okay, so now that you got the carburetor out, now you can disassemble it to the point where you can expose this piece and the engine. Okay, so in order to disassemble it further, we have to remove the bottom plate, bottom part of the handle. Okay, that handle it goes all the way underneath the machine, the chainsaw. So what we're going to do, I think you can kind of see the idea. See those two screws? Actually, I put them back in place, but those two screws need to be removed, and then at the end here, the very end of the there's also a screw there that needs to be removed. Okay, so there's 3 screws in order to remove this bottom plate. So we do that. There we go. Got the bottom plate off. All right, now there's 4 screws, 4 bolts that look like this. They're threaded for little ways, and then they have a pin that goes through the shock absorber. So as you can see, there's a shock absorber there. So they go. There's 4 of them. There's one here, one here, one down here, and one on the other side. Actually, you got to take the chain cover off, I think, in order to get the other one. So those 4 pins have to be taken out, and then it's just a matter of disassembling it. So that you just push this forward, and that's how it comes apart, just like that. Okay. And when you think about it, this piece, when it's attached to that, okay, when it's attached to the bottom plate, okay, that is isolated from the machine by the 4 shock absorbers. There's 1, 2, and then 2 on the other side. So that's how it prevents the vibrations from going to your body. Okay, now what we've got is this piece exposed here. Now the rubber and the hose that's coming from the carburetor that I'm trying to replace goes through this hole there. Okay, and I mean that's the whole idea of this exercise. But anyway, the rubber boot, again, I read it's a very common problem. The rubber boot that deteriorates goes through here, and then there's it goes over this plastic piece. This plastic piece attaches through this plate to the top of the engine, isn't that? So now all of a sudden we got the engine exposed, and if I'll even show you how the piston rotates. I'm going to put a broken pulley in there, turn on with a screwdriver. Now there's something wrong. This is the one that this is the engine that doesn't work right. So there's very little compression. I have a feeling there's a serious problem inside, but you can see how the piston runs. I'm just rotating it because I don't have a pull cord attached, so I'm just rotating it with a screwdriver. And there's the piston. The rings. Piston's in a compression state there, and the rings just barely get exposed there before it goes back. Anyway, this is where the carburetor mixture goes into the engine, and so that's the end of this lesson. Again, the rubber boot is something that's frequently needs replacement. Oh, and the rubber hose that I have to replace attaches here. Down, I don't know if you can see that, down there. There's a place for it to attach. I think it's a vacuum hose, but hopefully that's going to solve my problem. Okay, bye now.